So let's get more details about the federal government's ongoing response. We do now have the Transport Minister, Omar Alghabra, straight from that press conference they just finished. Minister, great of you to finish that and jump on board here on CTV's Power Play. Let's start at the top. And I know we've heard there's 120 military members going to Abbotsford, BC tonight. I know there's some helicopters there, some transports. Can you just give us a sense of an overall sense of exactly what the military is going to be doing and where they're exactly deploying, both tonight and in the days ahead?
Hello, Evan, and it's good to be back with you on your show. Let me just first say that my heart goes out to all those who are affected by the flooding situation and the mudslides. Our military, once again, shows up to support Canadians. This is, as Minister Anand said today, this is the 12th request for military assistance during the pandemic for natural disasters. The government of British Columbia just recently, I think 2 days ago, has asked for help from the military, and here they are, our men and women there to support Canadians. As you mentioned, over 100 or a couple of hundred military personnel are on the ground as we speak. They are assessing the needs, and based on the discussions with British Columbian officials and their assessment of the situation, further decisions will be made about the nature of the deployment and the location of the deployment.
Okay, we don't know. How big could this get? And I had talked to Minister Blair last night of Emergency Services, saying there is up to 4,000 on standby. How big could the military aid get?
This is, the more I've been, learn every day goes by, I learn about the magnitude of this disaster. This is like nothing we've ever seen before. And I know I'm repeating a cliche that others have been saying because it's true. The magnitude of this disaster is massive, and the numbers of individuals and communities that have been affected is large. So I'm not able to predict how large the military contingency will be right now. However, I just want to reassure your viewers our commitment to the people of British Columbia that we will do whatever it takes to assist them during this challenging period.
Minister, the critical infrastructure, now we're getting specifically to the purview in your ministry, has been shattered. Roads, supplies cut off, railway lines. Will the military, and do you have engineers in the military, are they going to help the province rebuild critical infrastructure? And what are the timelines on that?
Before this afternoon, Evan, I had a conversation with CN, NCP, and other transport stakeholders. Last night, I had a conversation with Minister Fleming, the British Columbia Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. We, of course, a priority for us is the restoration of these routes of supply chains. From the reports that I'm getting from CN, NCP, is that some of these routes, if not most of them, will be restored in the coming days, which is good news. I'm sure you've heard that overnight, Via Rail was able to evacuate 200 individuals who were stuck in Hope, transport them to Vancouver, which is a great sign, and I'm grateful for Via for doing so. But it's also a sign that the rail network is beginning to open up. But yes, there are significant damages that have occurred to the network, and we will do whatever it takes, including utilizing our military expertise in rebuilding that network to restore supply chains as quickly as possible.
Minister, we have heard reports of in places like Chilliwack, they're running out of fuel, as you know. They're running out of food. There's lots of shortages. Supply chain issues are critical to get critical goods to folks. I know some things are flying in. Can you give us an update on how quickly that's happening? There are families who have lost everything. They're running out of money. They're worried. They're hungry, and they can't get things. So can you give us a sense of how, and again, I know this is local authorities and provincial responsibilities, but on top of that and plugging into that to enhance it and boost it is the federal government. What exactly is being done to help critical supplies get to areas like Chilliwack?
Thank you for that question, Evan, because I want to reiterate what you're saying. The sense of urgency is high. We know that there are urgent needs. So in addition to the fact that we're working with CP and CN and other stakeholders on restoring rail and surface roads as quickly as possible, we're also working with our friends down south in the U.S. on allowing some kind of an interim measure for truck drivers to cross into the U.S. and then drive back up. So they can transport essential goods. We are working with the government of British Columbia and using all authorities that we have, perhaps to prioritize essential goods on these routes that are opening. We're also looking at marine and barge vessels to supply essential goods as quickly as possible until while these other routes are being reopened.
Okay, I just want to drill down on that. That's interesting. So just can you give me some details? What are you talking about? Because obviously the border issue, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, and some of your colleagues are down in Washington looking at border issues, supply issues, and we can get to that. But you're saying you're trying to negotiate what? American trucks coming up to take alternative routes to get supplies to the interior of BC?
No, we're talking about Canadian truck drivers who, in order to transport goods, they would take BC highways that are currently shut down. So the idea is to perhaps suspend some of the traditional custom rules so they can cross down south into the U.S. and then cross over and then come back up north back into British Columbia. So as a parallel routes that may exist in the United States, just to give a route for truckers to transport essential goods in the meantime.
How fast could that happen?
We're working on it with our colleagues at CBSA and our friends in the U.S. I'm hoping we can get a resolution as quickly as possible.
And again, because I haven't heard this bit about the barges either, because the rivers are obviously overrun. Tell me how would the barge situation work?
Well, in case of fuel resupplies, we are looking at options to bring in barges to resupply communities. So that's also an option that we're looking at, and we've done it in the past. So that's something that we're looking at to, as I said, to provide additional fuel so we can resupply communities.
Did you hear the Mayor Braun of Abbotsford, BC? Abbotsford's been devastated, as you know. And he said, we're looking at the federal government and it's going to be, his word, a big bill. Is the federal government prepared to cover a lot of the major costs, not only the communities, but the province has incurred in this disaster?
Evan, as you can imagine, our priority right now is the safety of Canadians and is the ensuring that we restore supply chain for everyone who's affected. We have committed to Canadians, to British Columbians, to the government of British Columbia that we are a solid partner with them and we will do whatever it takes. In my conversation with my counterpart, Minister Fleming, who, by the way, I want to thank for his incredible hard work, he and his team and his department, on working collaboratively. We know that this is going to increase, add a cost. There's a cost to what we're doing, and we are working cooperatively and collaboratively with the government of British Columbia on providing support as they need it.